Hi there. So let's talk about um, the difference between something being legal versus it being moral or ethical to do or indulge in or engage in versus something being illegal and the difference between it being illegal versus unethical, right? So this will differ. Every country has their own laws, which basically are designed to create a sense of peace and harmony and health, etc., etc. So I will use the United States because that's where I live. In the United States, um, hi Elizabeth, how are you, my love? We need to connect. Um, so in the United States, it is legal to consume alcohol. It is legal to consume cigarettes, right? Of course, there's an age limit, so you have to be 18 and above to, I guess, buy a cigarette. It You have to be 21 and over to buy alcohol. Um, but that doesn't stop people, right? People still find a way. Kids still find a way to get it. Um, but does just because something is legal, does it make it okay to do? There's a huge, gambling, right? I mean, it's legal in certain parts. Like we have casinos here, right? And it's legal to go gamble. Does that make it ethical, right? Just because something is legal, does that mean it's okay to do? And I just want you guys to think about this, because I get this a lot, right, from people. Well, it's legal. It's not, it's allowed. Sure, consuming alcohol is legal. Does that make it okay to do? Right now, again, there's no. I'm not sitting on my little, judgment box. That's not the intention of this at all. So please understand that. It's just something to make you think about your own actions and your own choices, because I think awareness is the first step in any kind of change, right? I truly believe that. How can we change anything if we're not even aware how, what our behavior, what we're doing, and why we're doing it? What is the true intention or motivation behind us doing anything at all? So, this goes back into um, my the talk I did last week about um, you know addictions, right? Consuming. So let's talk about alcohol, right? I mean, I don't drink anymore, but I used to enjoy a glass of wine. And that doesn't mean that I might not change my mind, next week and decide to have a glass of wine again. I choose not to do it for spiritual reasons because it hinders in meditation. I know that consuming alcohol just opens me up, among other things, to energies I don't want to partake in. So that's a personal decision and a choice that I'm making. Does that mean that I judge people who choose to have a drink? Absolutely not, right? No problem. If I'm on a date and someone, the guy decides to order, something, a drink, please drink. It doesn't matter. Because again, who am I to judge, right? Now, mind you, I definitely have a fine line that I draw when it comes to drugs, right? That I'm not okay with. On a personal, not forget myself. I will not date a guy who does drugs. Personal standard, personal moral standard. And again, for them it might be okay. Um, but it's I think it's an individual um, decision to make. I think everything in moderation to a degree is okay. But I'm not here to sit here and tell you drinking is wrong and drugs is wrong and smoking is wrong. There are many people, the religions will claim that, right? They tell you that. I'm not here to sit and judge. I just, again, the intention is just to bring awareness so that you start to question and think about why you're doing what you're doing, right? So I'll ask the question again. Just because something is legal, does that make it ethical and morally acceptable to do? I don't know. Does it? I wonder, right? Why do you do what you do? Think about that before and as you're doing it. right? So anyways, I don't have any brilliant advice or any, just something to propose for you guys to become aware of. And maybe we can take this, in offline and have a discussion about this. Who I don't think it's anybody's business to judge. Um, but I think it's definitely there's a fine line between um, something being legal and something being moral and ethical, right? Um, so for me, personal choice again, you know, I it's legal to um, what, like I said, drugs, not drugs, but alcohol, drinking. Um, I think it's legal, but is that ethical? And again, and Alicia, you're right. I think it's a personal decision making process that is governed and guided by our internal moral compass, right? And I think that moral compass, I'm excited because that moral compass has the potential of evolving into a higher and more aware self all the time. So I think, you know, I'm excited because there's always hope. I believe in hope. I believe in the betterment of humanity. I believe in man making, being able, not necessarily doing it, but definitely has the potential of taking the higher road. And yes, Imran, you're right. That's a big one in our country, right? Where weed has already become legal in many parts of the country and many parts where it's not, and I'm not here to sit and give, my personal, excuse me, opinion or judgment on that. Because, again, who am I, right? It's just, I know what works for me and what doesn't work for me. And I make that decision based on my own beliefs and my own values and my own ethics of my personal faith and my personal self, which are, of course, guided by my faith in this case. But I'm not here to sit and judge, make that decision for yourself. But as long as, you make it with awareness and you're aware of the consequences that come with making certain decisions, because every action has a consequence. And consequence is not necessarily a bad word. I think, we think of consequences as immediately we think of, to me, it's like, oh my God, consequences are so bad, because it's that term we've used for parenting, for disciplining, consequence of going to jail, like that's what comes to mind. But I want to sort of cancel that idea of consequence and just think about consequence as something that happens when you take an action. A consequence might be positive or consequence might be negative. It's just something as a result of a choice you make, right? So again, when you make certain decisions, there's always consequences, positive or negative. And really they play out in your physical life, they play out in your ethical, moral, peace of mind life, right? They play out in your, social sort of, interactions with people. They play out. So, anyways, again, wishing you love and light. I hope this is, will help you, inshallah, God willing, think about some of the choices that we make. Um, to, just think before we do things, right? Like I said, awareness is step one in changing something about ourselves. We can't change something we're not even aware of, right? So, again, I humbly thank you for giving me the time and listening. And I pray that this has been helpful and love and light.